Welcome, everybody, to our meeting. We're delighted, absolutely delighted to be in Newark today, hosted by our interim chancellor, Robinson, over here on my left. Thank you for welcoming us and hosting us here today. Absolutely delighted to be in Newark and delighted that we have the privilege of being a multi-campus university. It allows us to move about in the communities that we teach in, that we live in, and we're very, very pleased that we have that opportunity. This is our first meeting of the academic year. I want to thank everybody for joining us. It's my first full meeting as chair, and I'm very privileged and honored to serve the board and to serve the university community. I want to welcome our governors that are returning, and we have the privilege of welcoming new members today as well. We also have the opportunity to honor several colleagues who have served the board and the university. It's a privilege to do that today. Beyond that, we're going to get an important address from the president. We're going to get an update from our chancellor here in Newark, our interim chancellor today. And we have the privilege of receiving a report on the Rutgers School of Medicine from Drs. Johnson and Murtha, in addition to the full agenda we have on committee reports and things like that. So full agenda, delighted to be here with you. And with that, I have the opportunity and privilege to read the first honoring resolution, which is a resolution recognizing William Tambuzzi as a member of the Board of Governors. Whereas we, your colleagues and friends, are pleased to salute your extraordinary commitment to Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, as a member of the Board of Governors from August 18th, 2014 to June 27th, 2024, and whereas throughout your remarkable decade of service on the Committee on Finance and Facilities, including your exemplary tenure as chair from 2022 to 2024, your expertise and keen insight have encouraged financial responsibility while ensuring that the university continued to thrive during uniquely challenging times. And whereas as chair of the Committee on Finance and Facilities, you were instrumental in setting the university on a course toward fiscal sustainability while balancing the needs of students so that Rutgers can continue to fulfill its mission. And whereas your thoughtful leadership has been of great benefit to the Board of Governors Executive Committee, and you have demonstrated your unwavering dedication to all Rutgers students as a member of the Camden Board of Directors. And whereas you are further appreciated for your contributions to the Rutgers 21st Presidential Search Committee, which also reflects your unwavering devotion to the university's tradition of excellence, and whereas your legacy of accomplishments truly stands as a model for all who serve on the Board of Governors to emulate. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the members of the Board of Governors of Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, express their deepest gratitude and heartfelt thanks to William Tambuzzi for his support of the university and the Board of Governors, and extend their warmest wishes for his continued success in all future endeavors. Please, may I have a motion? Thank you. And a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Thank you very much. The motion carries. We now move on to a memorial resolution, which I will ask Vice Chair Lal to read. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let it be recorded in deepest sorrow that Ronald W. Giaconia, an esteemed loyal son of Rutgers who faithfully served the university as a member of the Board of Trustees and the Board of Governors, passed away on September 13, 2024. Throughout his 30 years of service as a Rutgers governing board member, beginning as a charter trustee from 1994 to 2006, then as a trustee governor from 2001 to 2007, and finally as a trustee emeritus, Ron always demonstrated his steadfast devotion to Rutgers students and all members of the university community. His passion for Rutgers never wavering, Ron's tireless pursuit of excellence was evident through his strong stewardship, and he imparted wise counsel as chair of the Board of Trustees, Vice Chair of the Board of Trustees and Vice Chair of the Board of Governors. Affectionately referred to as the Chairman of the Board by those who knew him, Ron guided, excuse me, Ron guided the university during times of great progress and strengthened Rutgers' commitment to providing an affordable education, conducting world-changing research, and striving for the betterment of New Jersey. The founder and president of Giaconia Life Associates, LLC, Ron applied his exceptional financial knowledge as a member of the Board of Governors Committee on Audit and Budget and Finance Committees, and made noteworthy contributions to the committees on educational planning and policy, executive compensation and nominations, university relations and honorary degrees, and intercollegiate athletics, which he chaired for many years. Ron also shared his keen insight as a member of the Board of Trustees nominating and executive committees, as well as numerous trustee learning groups and trustee advisory committees. He gave further of his time and energy as a member and later an emeritus director of the Rutgers University Foundation's Board of Directors and as chair of the Scarlett R. Executive Advisory Committee. An avid fan of Rutgers athletics, Ron helped establish the Robert Lusardi Memorial Football Scholarship, and he and his wife established the Ron and Tony Giaconia Endowed Scholarship for baseball players. Ron's extraordinary legacy at his alma mater earned him numerous honors, including the Meritorious Service Award from the Rutgers University Alumni Federation and his induction into the Rutgers Hall of Distinguished Alumni. Be it resolved, therefore, that as an expression of the board's grateful remembrance of Ronald W. Giaconia's dedication to Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, this memorial resolution shall be recorded in the minutes of the Board of Governors and Board of Trustees, and a copy shall be sent to his family along with our heartfelt and deepest condolences.
May I have a motion to approve the resolution, please? Thank you. A second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Thank you very much. The motion carries. Further to the recognition, we have the privilege of recognizing John Hoffman, Senior Vice President and General Counsel as well. Mr. Taffet, will you read the resolution?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am honored to present and read a resolution lauding John J. Hoffman in recognition of his distinguished service. Whereas John J. Hoffman has tirelessly served as Rutgers as Senior Vice President and General Counsel for 8 years, and his exemplary leadership and wisdom during some of the most challenging and consequential moments in recent history have been vital to the university's growth, success, and prosperity. And whereas Mr. Hoffman has made essential contributions through his perceptive insight and wise advice to the administration on pivotal legal issues that have impacted all schools and units of the university, ensuring the university was on firm legal footing in all its endeavors during periods of rapid regulatory change in key sectors within higher education. And whereas the board is grateful for his guidance he has provided to the university's governing boards, exceptional efforts that have helped Rutgers fulfill its missions to provide a first-class education to students, conduct cutting-edge research, and support the people of New Jersey through public service. And whereas the thoughtful counsel Mr. Hoffman provided to Rutgers throughout his tenure has been a critical factor in the resolution of issues, the formation of university-wide policy, and the continuation of Rutgers' progression toward becoming a top-tier academic university. And whereas he is especially appreciated for the important role he played in the creation of Rutgers Health and throughout the establishment of Rutgers Health academic affiliation with RWJ Barnabas Health to establish the largest academic health system in New Jersey and transform the way healthcare is delivered to patients. And whereas Mr. Hoffman's ascent to the Supreme Court of New Jersey is further evidence of his praiseworthy integrity and lifelong passion for public service, following not only 8 years as general counsel for the State University of New Jersey, but also an outstanding tenure as New Jersey's acting attorney general, as well as dedicated service to the New Jersey State Comptroller's Office and the United States Department of Justice. And whereas through his exemplary devotion to the mission and purpose of Rutgers, John Hoffman has established an enduring legacy of service and accomplishments that merits admiration and emulation. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Governors of Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, offers its sincere gratitude to John J. Hoffman for his remarkable service that has helped establish the university as the vibrant and comprehensive institution it is today. And be it further resolved that members of the Board of Governors, on behalf of the entire university community, extend their sincere appreciation to John J. Hoffman as he prepares to apply his wisdom and sound judgment to the benefit of his fellow citizens as an Associate Justice of the New Jersey Supreme Court.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tavitt. May I have a motion, please? Thank you. And a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Wonderful. Thank you very much. The motion is carried. I have the opportunity to welcome the return of our two Senate representatives to the Board of Governors. Heather Pierce, lecturer at the School of Arts and Sciences at Rutgers University, New Brunswick, and also Sifania Searcy from the School of Criminal Justice at Rutgers University, Newark. Welcome back. In addition, I would like to welcome to the board the newly elected chair of the University Senate. Welcome Lucille Foster, who is the Assistant Dean, Recruitment, Office of Undergraduate Student and Academic Services, Rutgers Business School, Newark. Welcome back and welcome, Lucy. I will now turn the table over to President Holloway to provide his update to the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is the first meeting of the Board of Governors since the academic year began, and I'm pleased to say that Rutgers is off to a great start. A record number of first-year students who are richly diverse and representing a richly diverse and highly accomplished entering class. U.S. News rankings reminded us that Rutgers stands among the best universities in the country. All three locations are in the top 50 among public universities. New Brunswick at number 15, Newark at number 39, Camden at number 46. All three of the campuses are in the top 100 among all universities, public and private. Since 2021, New Brunswick has moved up 22 spots among national universities. Newark has moved up 38 spots, and Camden has jumped up 55 spots. I dare say no other university has moved so quickly in so short a period of time. True to our mission, all three locations are in the top 25 for the graduation rate of our students receiving Pell Grants. I'm particularly proud of that accomplishment. Fundraising for Rutgers has been exceptional. We surpassed our goal of $250 million for fiscal year 2024. There are more than 34,000 unique donors in that number. And quite importantly, more than 7,500 of them are first-time donors. This is an underscoring of a charge I gave to Kimberly Hopley, head of the foundation, to increase our engagement as a university, and she is doing things that I was told were impossible to do when I first arrived here. Thank you, Kimberly. Our research productivity is as robust as it's ever been. It's more robust than it's ever been. Over the past year, our faculty attracted close to $970 million in grants and sponsored programs. This is a 40% increase over the last 4 years. We fully anticipate entering the billion-dollar club of annual sponsored programs and grants next year, if not next year, immediately after that. This is a very small group, and once we're in there, I expect the university to stay there. Within the past month, our faculty have drawn attention for vital research that crosses the full spectrum of the university. I apologize if I mispronounced the name here. Math professor Pham Tip solved 2 separate fundamental problems that mathematicians around the world haven't been able to solve. I will say, I'll at myself here, when I read the article, I didn't understand what happened. But the fact is, people have been working for decades to try to solve these problems, and he's done it with a piece of paper and a pencil. History professor David Greenberg has published a biography of the civil rights champion John Lewis that has been earning high praise in the New York Times and other publications. Psychiatry professor Daniel Dick, who has been exploring where psychology intersects with genetics, has co-founded a startup that has just signed an exclusive license with Rutgers. The license is for an addiction risk evaluation system that looks at each person's genomic markers and behavior to help them manage and recover from their addiction, or even better, prevent problems in the first place. And I could go on. These are three particular faculty I wanted to highlight. Our relationship with the government has also been healthy. Examples include our partnership on the Helix project, Health and Life Science Exchange, has enabled the construction we see taking place in downtown New Brunswick. Rutgers Camden has just received $2.5 million appropriation from the state to help expand its already strong civic engagement programs. Rutgers Newark just celebrated the creation of the Guaranteed Education Program, an initiative of the Mayor of Newark, Ross Baraka, to ensure a fully funded 4-year education for 13 Rutgers Newark students from the city. I had the pleasure of giving my stakeholders address 9 days ago, and in that gave a much richer elaboration of all the great things that are happening at this university, things of which we should all be proud. With all that momentum, I believe Rutgers is well situated to thrive in the academic year ahead. And I thank the board, our faculty, students, and staff, and all of our donors and supporters for making this happen. This concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. We now have the opportunity to receive a report from the Rutgers University Newark Interim Chancellor, Chancellor Robinson. The floor is yours. Welcome, and thank you for hosting us today.
All right, thank you. Thank you for having me and allow me to present today. Hey, Pat, we're good here? Okay. Welcome to Rutgers University Newark, everybody. I'm excited to share the state of Rutgers University Newark, our vision for this year and into the future, and give you some highlights of our extraordinary faculty and collaborative programs, our incredible students, and the staff and stakeholders who support us all, the many lived experiences that make up our vibrant community. At the end, if there's time, I'm happy to answer questions. Since this is my first Board of Governors presentation, I think I need to take a moment to introduce myself and to give you a lens into my lived experience. I was the first in my immediate family to go to college and to go to graduate school, and first in my entire family to earn a doctorate. When I started at Rutgers School of Engineering many, many moons ago, I had experiences that were transformative for my entire life. Not only did I get a world-class education, but many of the people I met at Rutgers became close friends, colleagues, and mentors to this day. We've written books together. We've worked through challenges together, both professionally and personally. So many people in the community that have mentored me and urged me to get even the master's degree from Georgia Tech and the PhD from Columbia. By the time I had taught for 5 years at NYU, I realized that it was time for me to come back to my alma mater. And in 2008, I returned as an assistant professor at Rutgers Business School. My first office was right here at Rutgers Newark. And over the years, I've seen the transformative power of a research-oriented state university engaged in its community and committed to student success. It is my tremendous honor to serve since 2021 as the Prudential Chair and Professor of Business, and since 2022 as Provost, and now as Interim Chancellor. I attribute much of the success to access to an affordable education through the James Dixon Carr Scholarship at Rutgers University. So this has certainly been a time of transition for Rutgers Newark. And while you see me up here delivering this presentation, you should know that there is a team that has been working very hard to make sure that we maintain the areas of excellence that make Rutgers Newark a unique jewel in the crown of Rutgers University. Many of them are sitting here behind me from my office, and I want to acknowledge all of the hard work that they have done. Question in your mind should be, how is Rutgers Newark situated right now? And the answer is, Rutgers Newark is thriving and growing. Most recent U.S. News and World Report ranks Rutgers Newark number 5 nationally in social mobility, number 12 in 6-year graduation rates for Pell Grants. Those two are of particular interest to us because we think of ourselves as an entry point and a launch pad in terms of social mobility. The number 5 ranking provides confirmation of the foundational work Rutgers Newark has been doing, leading for more than a decade. I should also mention that our executive team, our leadership team here at Rutgers Newark is a group of leaders, much like our students. Almost all of us are first-generation college students from homes of low to modest socioeconomic status, whose lived experiences we draw on every day to do our work here. In addition to this celebratory moment, you can see on the right-hand side of the slide above that the School of Criminal Justice is celebrating its 50th year. I should say the internationally renowned School of Criminal Justice is celebrating 50 years. Our overall enrollment is growing. This fall, our enrollment at Rutgers Newark grew to 11,000. Actually, I'm going to update the number, 343. We welcome nearly 2,600 new students, the largest incoming undergraduate class in the history of Rutgers Newark. That's 32% increase year over year. And our enrollment continues to recover from the dip we experienced during COVID. With the launch of the Common App of Rutgers Newark saw a 107% increase in its first-year applications. We still have work to do, especially around transfer enrollment, where we see a slight decline, and New Jersey Community College's enrollment remains below pre-COVID numbers. So to address these challenges, we've created a team in the Office of Admissions focused solely on transfer students. This team works closely with our schools and employs best practices to enhance the prospective transfer admission experience. Let me tell you a bit about our class. The youngest is 15 years old. The oldest is 77 years old. 70% are first-year students and 30% are transfers. 113 are veterans or have personal family connections to the military. In the graduate school, we're seeing more out-of-state and international students, reflecting the strength of our law school, specialty master's programs in the business school, and our online executive MPA program. We have many points on the screen there. I'm not going to be able to go through all of them. Lots of different trends you can review or ask questions about, but just a bit more on one of our favorite topics here, social mobility. 36% of our students describe themselves as first-generation college students. In fact, depending on which definition you use, we could also claim around 50% of our students or more are first-generation college students. We have 500 students enrolled in the EOF program, 121 who were newly enrolled in 2024. 54% of our students are Pell eligible. 73% are students of color. Rutgers Newark holds 3 designations: Hispanic Serving Institution, Asian and Native American Pacific Islander Serving Institution, and Minority Serving Institution. With a combination of institutional support, state and federal aid, almost 3,000 students were awarded more than $15 million through Run to the Top and the Garden State Guarantee. These programs support students' educational journeys. For the second year, Rutgers Newark is partnering with the state to re-enroll students who have college credits to complete their degrees. Since fall 2020, we've grown re-enrollment by 160%. While working to increase recruitment and retention targets, we have been mindful about building and sustaining an environment of care and support. On the screen, you see some of the logos of the various entities here at Rutgers Newark that may stretch across the university or may just be here. Our incredible care team collaborates across campus to help students facing emergency challenges, including housing and food insecurity, mental health issues, academic progress hurdles, and other difficulties. The care team responded to over 360 unique cases last year. To reduce food insecurity, Pantry Plus at Rutgers Newark recorded more than 8,000 visits to the pantry and provided more than 13,000 pounds of food through the farmers market last year. Pantry Plus is just down the hall from us, so if you, on your way out, want to take a look, just let us know. Last year, they also distributed more than 80 emergency food packets. The Center for Pre-College enrolled more than 9,000 pre-college students from Newark, from Orange, from East Orange, and in a wide range of academic year programs, summer programs such as Upward Bound, Talent Search, Rutgers Future Scholars, and the Pre-College Academy. I'm glad that they mentioned East Orange. That's actually the city that I was born in, which is only a mile away from here. In terms of the other programs, initiatives that we have, it's a beautiful breakdown there on the screen. You can take a look. I'll just highlight one thing. The New Jersey Scholarship and Transformation Education in Prison program, NJ STEP, which is the university-wide program that supports students who are currently incarcerated, and Mountain View, which provides educational opportunities to formerly incarcerated individuals and others impacted by the justice system. These programs have, through NJ STEP, we've had 2,300 students have enrolled in at least some or one Rutgers Newark course. And that program not only is it successful, but if you ever get a chance to do the graduation ceremony that we conduct inside of New Jersey prisons, it will change your life, because there are some amazing things that Rutgers is doing inside the prisons in the transformative nature of education. Another critical aspect of social mobility is preparing our students to launch exceptional careers. So I wanted to say a few things about our career resources and exploration and our relationship with Braven. On October 9th, this Office of Career Resources and Exploration held campus-wide career fair, where Rutgers Newark students had the opportunity to meet with 110 employers, including 16 Fortune 500 companies and New Jersey's largest employers, such as Mars Wrigley, Prudential, NJ Transit, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield. More than 1,300 individuals, including 154 alums, participated in the career fair. Another major initiative is the collaboration between Rutgers, Newark, and the Office of Career Resources and Exploration and Braven. Braven's mission is to empower promising underrepresented young people, first-generation college students from low-income backgrounds, and other students with opportunities that are career accelerating. Every sophomore or first transfer students who are in their first year receives the Braven course on the schedule. 1,600 Rutgers Newark students have enrolled in the Braven course to date, and 96% of Braven fellows, just to give you a data point, not only are they employed or in graduate school over 6 months, those who are employed have starting salaries that are $12,800 above the national average. Those outcomes matter. One last student-related item. Let me give you a quick and brief update on our one-stop construction. So you may have passed it on your way to this building. Our new streamlined integrated one-stop student services hub will be in Conklin Hall, and it's part of the Rutgers Newark strategic and master plans. One Stop will ease students' access to all mission-critical services in financial aid, student accounting, payment centers, registrar, ID services, and this is in alignment with our sister campuses in Camden and New Brunswick. As you can see from the architectural renderings that are on the screen, One Stop will also provide a much-needed hub for our commuting students. Moving enrollment services to Conklin Hall recalls the 1969 liberation of Conklin Hall, led by the Black Organization of Students, which propelled change throughout the state of New Jersey by demanding more funding and access to higher education for all New Jersey students. We look forward to welcoming you all to the grand opening ceremony, which will take place next fall. In terms of our anchor mission, I have 2 more sections to go through. Our anchor mission and our faculty. We have many things we can highlight that you see here on the screen. I'll just mention a couple here. You should know about Express Newark, led by Dr. Salamisha Tillett. Express Newark is a collaboration with the City of Newark and provides space for socially engaged and design, social engagement and design, where talented artists co-create, collaborate, and make art for social change. It's led by Dr. Salamisha Tillett, who is a Pulitzer Prize winning School of Arts and Sciences faculty member. I'll also mention one more, Lives in Translation, led by Stephanie Rodriguez and Jennifer Austin, provides volunteer translation and interpreting services to offices throughout the Rutgers Newark community, as well as Newark nonprofits and community partners. Due to the demand for language translation and interpreting services, Lives in Translation has expanded their services to over 25 national and local organizations like the ACLU and the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice. Lives in Translation has over 850 student volunteers translating over 50 languages. Rutgers Newark is in the business of innovation. And as I shift to focusing on some of our centers and faculty, I should point out that many of the innovations come from interdisciplinary approaches. Collaboration with PhiServe focuses on students studying data science from the School of Arts and Sciences Newark, Rutgers Business School, and our veterans. Through their lived experiences, PhiServe scholars and scholarship recipients are transforming the fintech industry. The Aging and Brain Health Alliance is studying how Alzheimer's disease impacts the aging African American community with the goal of reducing Alzheimer's disease in future generations. And the Honors Living and Learning community is educating future change makers and creating leaders for tomorrow. With nearly 300 students, the HLLC has created an interdisciplinary curriculum with faculty from Rutgers Newark, the city of Newark, and beyond. As a Carnegie Classified Research II university, Rutgers Newark's faculty have been successful in receiving more than $52 million in external funding for the last fiscal year. We currently have more than 300 active grants, and I'll go back to talking about the Aging and Brain Health Alliance. They've recently pulled in, under the guidance of Dr. Mark Luck, $7.4 million from the National Institutes of Aging. The Humanities Action Lab with Professor Liz Stevchenko received $1.1 million from the Mellon Foundation to do their work. And our Small Business Development Center brought in $4.2 million to work from the New Jersey Department of Treasury to work with and provide legal, accounting, and financial advisory services to small businesses, just to name a few. Our faculty. I mentioned three faculty here on this screen, including Professor Alexander Gate, who's been a leader in the field of earth and environmental sciences and in the development of programs that diversify STEM. He's received numerous awards for his incredible work as a PI and is a PI for multi-million-dollar grants from the National Science Foundation. His most recent book, Reclaiming Our Planet, How Environmental History Can Help Save the Climate Crisis, is receiving critical acclaim. Frida Jackel is a distinguished professor and chair of the chemistry department. His award-winning work focuses on the development of new functional, molecular, and polymeric materials with interesting and unusual optical, electronic, catalytic, sensory, or stimuli-responsive properties. He is the recipient of a number of grants and awards from NSF, Alpha P. Sloan Foundation, and Humboldt Foundation. In addition to his wonderful work, he is known for developing programs and outreach to diverse high school students who are interested in the sciences. Ashaki Roof, a professor in the Earth and Environmental Sciences Department, is well respected in the field of environmental geochemistry and as an expert on nutrient recovery and contaminants in a variety of natural and anthropogenic systems. She has been awarded numerous grants and awards, Fulbright scholarships and NSF scholarship fellowships and grants, including the New Geo, a Newark Geo ecosystem for cultural transformation and systemic change in the geosciences. Rutgers Newark has more than 40 research centers, and I'll just mention, although we got more on the screen, I'll mention three that I think stand out and have been mentioned by others. Our new Institute for Data Research and Innovation Sciences, funded through the roadmaps initiatives of the Executive Vice President in Academic Affairs Office and Dr. Fabras Mogi. This center, this institute, I should say, serves as an organizing hub for applied social justice oriented ethical and responsible scholarship and practice in data science. It's led by Dr. Faye Cobb Payton. James Jones is leading the Sheila Y. Oliver Center for Politics and Race in America. This is a new center renamed in March 2024 to honor the late Lieutenant Governor Sheila Y. Oliver. The center serves as a data resource center, a center for cutting edge training, and looks to diversify the field of people who have access to and ultimately pursue careers in public service. And finally, our Center for Molecular and Behavioral Neuroscience, led by Denis Paré and Bart Kreckelberg. CMBN team explores the brain's structure and function through excellence in research and graduate training. Center is home to 14 research laboratories whose work spans molecular, cellular systems, cognitive and computational neuroscience, and hosts over 20 PhD students. This is my last faculty slide. A lot I could say about all these faculty. Most of it good. No, all of it is good because 3 people on this list of many faculty members have done some exceptional things related to accolades they've received in the last 6 months. John Keene from the School of Arts and Sciences, distinguished professor in English, was elected to the American Academy of Arts and Sciences this past April. Jaideep Vaidya, Rutgers Business School, was elected into the International Academy of Health Sciences Informatics. He's a distinguished professor of MIS at the Rutgers Business School. And Alice Elliott Dark, School of Arts and Sciences, Associate Professor in the MFA program, won the 2024 Presidential Outstanding Faculty Scholar Award and the 2022 McDowell Fellowship. They're just a sample of some of the wonderful faculty and staff that we have here at Rutgers Newark. So let me stop there, giving you a broad overview of what is going on at Rutgers University Newark and how our many lived experiences create one community that is committed to research excellence, community engagement, and student success. And I'm happy to answer your questions.
Thank you very much, Chancellor Robinson. What a wonderful quote, many lived experiences, one community. Obviously much to be proud of. This is a very impressive presentation, and I realize it's only a small slice of all that is Newark in our faculty, students, and community. So thank you very much. The Chancellor has offered to take questions. Does anybody have any questions? Mary?
Not a question, just a comment to say, thank you for that presentation, Chancellor. Very nice to be here. And in particular, the rankings, the social mobility really jumped out at me, going from 21 to, was it 5? I mean, that's what we're about here. And thank you to you and your team for making all of that happen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Any other comments or questions for Chancellor Robinson? Seeing none, thank you very much. Now we have the absolute privilege of welcoming Drs. Johnson and Dr. Murtha to the board meeting today. As everyone knows by now, we are in the process of creating the Rutgers School of Medicine. It is a very significant undertaking. It's going to take us a few years to get it done. But we have 2 people that are not only leading the charge, but doing much of the work in conjunction with the committees and advisory committees and communities around them. So I'd like to welcome Drs. Murtha and Johnson to the Board of Governors meeting today. And thank you very much for coming and giving us an update on the new Rutgers School of Medicine. Over to
Madam
you.
Chair, thank you so much for having us. It's an honor and a privilege to be with all of you this afternoon and to share our progress. My name is Amy Murtha. I'm the Dean of the Robert Wood Johnson Medical School. I'm an OBGYN by training, maternal fetal medicine specialist. I joined Rutgers just a little over 2 years ago from the University of California in San Francisco. And prior to that, spent 26 years at Duke University. And it's really been a delight to be here at Rutgers. We've organized our remarks this afternoon to provide a little bit of history for our medical schools, how we've organized our work to bring the medical schools together. We'll provide some updates on some key elements that we've made some significant progress on, and then plans for the future, and have opportunity for question as well. Dr. Johnson, I'm just going to stand next to you.
You're going to stand here?
Yeah.
We thought we'd start off with introductions just because we haven't met everyone here. My name is Bob Johnson. I am a pediatrician. I'm a graduate of New Jersey Medical School. I graduated in 1972. I went to NYU to study adolescent medicine and came back to New Jersey Medical School in 1976 to start the Division of Adolescent and Young Adult Medicine, where I take care of teenagers. I still do that today, 3 days a week. In the meantime, I became a chair of pediatrics and then dean of the medical school. I first interim dean and then finally permanent dean. And according to the AAMC, I'm the oldest tenured dean in the United States, over almost 20 years. And I guess a lot of that's due to Brian Strom, who kept me on when he came in. As Amy said, we are going to update you on what has happened with our lives. A year ago, a little more than a year ago, this board decided that Rutgers would combine its two medical schools. It is very unusual for a large university in the United States to have two fully accredited medical schools. As a matter of fact, again, according to the AAMC, this is the only school that has that. And two medical schools is a significant drain on resources. We are very expensive, as many of you know. We do a lot of things, but we compete with each other. And that competition that's gone on for more than half a century is not productive for the university. It would be better if all of our research efforts were combined. It would be better if all our recruitment efforts were combined, both for faculty and students. It would be better if all our academic efforts were combined. And it was a good foresight that this board decided to bring those two things together. The other thing this board did was it said that Amy and I would do it. Now, bringing two fully accredited medical schools together, which seemed to be a simple thing, New Jersey Medical School, which by the way is located on the other Rutgers campus in Newark, right up the hill, and Robert Wood Johnson Medical School are fully accredited schools. We have fairly good rankings. We've done well over a half a century each. And we have complied with all the requirements of the Liaison Committee on Medical Accreditation. It is our accrediting body. You cannot exist unless that accrediting body says you are a medical school. It sets standards for training in medical school. And you would think that medical school training would be pretty much the same since it's all one body and one effort in medicine. But there's a lot of leeway in that, a leeway in curriculum, a little bit leeway in bylaws, admissions criteria, all sorts of things like that. But in order for us to have one medical school, we had to come together. We had to have one of each of these things. We could not have a great deal of variation. And when you have developed separately over half a century, there's a lot of diversity. And so we had to bring that diversity back together. And that was the job we had before us. And we're going to tell you today a bit about the 1 year experience. So does this move the slides?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so when after you all voted, Bob and I were often asked, how were you going to bring the medical schools together? And we looked at each other and said, we're not sure exactly how we're going to do this. So we ended up leveraging a really important resource, the Center for Organizational Leadership, and Ralph Gelati and his group. We had a retreat at my home. We had representatives from both medical schools, the leadership teams from both medical schools. And Ralph actually led us in a conversation about how we were going to bring the schools together. But from prior experiences, I understand and appreciate that one of the most important things that you can do when you're engaging in complex work, where there's likely to be controversy and conflict, is to have the leadership teams set a list of guiding principles. What do we agree on at the beginning that we will hold ourselves accountable for as a leadership team? So the list of guiding principles that you see on the screen are the list that group created in my family room that day. And I'm going to read them because they're important. I'll say that they've informed our work for a year plus now, and they've been critical to our success. So do no harm, value and respect our faculty, staff, and trainees, demonstrate a commitment to excellence in each of our mission areas, remain steadfast in our obligation to our patients' safety and well-being, lead with kindness, active listening, and compassion, create extensive opportunities for inclusive and participatory dialogue throughout the planning process, respect the unique history, culture, and diversity of our institutions as we create an integrated Rutgers School of Medicine and seek to advance the shared values of our communities. Again, these have been really critical for us this past year. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, I want to say something.
Go ahead.
Don't change it yet.
Too late.
Go back.
There you go.
All right, thank you. It is very difficult to lead change, especially change that has to be implied and involved with institutions and policies and procedures that are 50 years old. And these principles and our adherence to these principles has been really key to the change that we have been able to create over the last year. When this first started, there was a lot of opposition. And that opposition has gone, I don't want to say gone away,
Not gone
but
away.
not gone away. But
It's melted.
it's melting. And I think it's melting because, number one, every presentation we've given, and we've given maybe 1 million of these presentations already,
It's not
we,
quite that many.
we start with this slide and we have adhered to these principles.
Yeah.
That's been the most important
Yeah,
thing.
that's exactly
And
right.
I think it's a very, and we're learning a lot of lessons as we've gone forward, but that's one of the most important lessons. And well, I have to go on
Go
now.
ahead, go ahead.
At the end, when this is all done, we will have one medical school, the Rutgers School of Medicine. It will have one dean. It will be in 2 locations, on the New Brunswick campus and on the RBHS campus in Newark. The school will have one set of bylaws, one admissions procedure, one curriculum, and one approach to how students are led. It will be a monumental feat because we will be the 2nd largest medical school in the country. Maybe the largest if Indiana doesn't act right, but it will be certainly a major accomplishment. Amy, next slide.
So to achieve this major accomplishment, we need to do a couple of things. We, as Bob mentioned before, we have to be an accredited medical school or we're nothing. So without the Liaison Committee on Medical Education's approval, we're not a medical school. So that's an important body of work. We also need to do the work of bringing our culture and communities along with us through the process. So this is actually the organizational chart that was created in my family room that same day that we set the guiding principles. We decided we needed an integration executive committee and a planning team. And those are leaders from both medical schools. On the left-hand side of the org chart, you'll see there's an integration advisory committee and a series of subcommittees below. These are organized around the LCME, our accrediting body's standards. This is the group that is solely focused on getting us LCME accreditation. There's an enormous amount of work, and even now, actually, the path to that process is at least a 2-year process to get that accreditation. And these groups are actively working on the areas that you see there. LCME accreditation is essential, but it is insufficient to bring our communities together. And we knew that and needed another way to engage our community stakeholders. On the right-hand side of the organizational chart is the integration task forces. These are the initial 8 task forces that were launched last March. These groups have actually completed their work. The idea of the task force, and I'll explain a little bit more later on, is to again get broad community stakeholder input. And I'll show you the charge that we gave for these groups. We're actually in the middle of launching the next 8 task forces, informed by the recommendations of these task forces. It's a feed forward, ground up opportunity for us to hear from our stakeholders. One of the things that Bob and I realized early on is we don't know what we don't know. And the opportunity to listen with an open heart and an open mind to all perspectives would be critically important to our success. And that's the way we've led this work. I think I'm next.
Yes, go.
Okay, so this is the timeline for LCME accreditation. It's kind of like a Laurel and Hardy show sometimes, but you'll see on the left-hand side in July of 24, we launched the LCME self-study process, which is about a 2-year process. We expect by September of 26 that we'll be submitting our LCME documents for consideration. We've already begun to schedule and have communicated with the LCME on the dates that we anticipate them to visit us in January of 2027. So those dates are already being set. And if all goes well, we anticipate that we'll have LCME accreditation by June of 2027. That will give us a year to recruit the first charter class to enter the medical school in the summer of 2028 under the name Rutgers School of Medicine. That class will graduate in 2032. So a long road ahead of us, a lot of work to do. And I'm going to keep going still, Bob. So
Do you want to say something about the class?
do you want,
Just in your-
go ahead.
You want to say?
You want to say it? Go ahead.
One monumental thing has happened. The students who entered medical school this year will be the first graduating class from the Rutgers School of Medicine. Now, when we both announced that to our students, we were really petrified because, you know, they're going to say we're make changes. The students cheered. They were excited about that. And they're excited to be that first graduating class.
There you go. So we're excited as well, actually. When we first began this work, we actually gathered feedback from our stakeholder groups regarding our mission, vision, and values. We've actually now leveraged the organizational structure that I presented a few minutes ago. It's well over almost 300 voices actually participating in both survey and committee work to help us craft our Rutgers School of Medicine mission, vision, values. And I present that for you, and I'm going to read this too. So the proposed mission is that we develop physicians and scientists to advance health through compassionate care, innovative research, and transformative education, fostering health equity and engagement across diverse communities. Our vision is to be a national leader in academic medicine and health equity by reimagining medical education, discovery, patient care, and service to the community to improve outcomes for all. Our values: excellence, integrity, dignity, kindness, collaboration, equity, diversity, and belonging. So some updates now.
Yeah, some updates. First, a comment about the resistance to change and a process that can be effective in getting around that resistance. One of the behaviors is common, at least in the medical school world, is when the dean walks into the room, everyone turns to the dean and says, "What do you want us to do?" Rather than deciding among themselves what to do. And so one of the things that Amy and I did, mostly guided by Amy, was to put people together and say, "This is the problem." And they said, "Okay." And then they'd say, "Okay, what do you want us to do?" And the only thing we wanted them to do was to talk about it and solve it. And we would step out. That really worked well. And we'll see that in 3 critical areas, it was extremely effective: curriculum, admissions process, and bylaws. These are sacrosanct within medical schools because you develop your own curriculum that follows the LCME guidelines, you develop your own admissions process, and you develop your own bylaws, and you hold on to it. And you cannot believe that it can be different someplace else and be effective someplace else, even though that someplace else is 30 miles down the road or 30 miles up the road. So, next slide. We did this first.
Sorry, Bob.
No,
That's good?
That's good. You can go to the next one. Yes. First, in admissions, we have 2 very different admissions processes. At Robert Wood Johnson, there's a committee, right, that interviews students. At New Jersey Medical School, we do individual admissions and interviews, and then a number of other things that are different. And we thought that this was going to be really difficult, again, because it had been a behavior that's been ingrained in these committees over a very long period of time. We went through the Martha Johnson process of getting there and change it. We call it the Martha process. And we were sitting together at the summit that we had in March, and the 2 admissions directors came together and presented us with a new process that was a merger of the processes that were going on in both schools. This was monumental. It made a whole lot of sense since we virtually have the same groups of students applying. The largest group are from Rutgers, and we have the students who are accepted. Again, the largest group is from Rutgers, and the students don't vary that much, although the processes were different. And so there's no good reason to believe that one process was superior to the other. It just you had to give it up. And they have done that. And that has been achieved remarkably.
Okay,
You want to say anything?
Yeah,
Linda?
I
One
do
thing?
actually. So just sitting in that summit in March, it was to have the two admission directors get up to present the outcome of their work and to share with us first that when they sat down together, they realized that for years they had been each other's biggest competitors and that they cared about the same things and their goals were the same, but they had competed with each other. They approached how we admitted students in different ways. At Robert Wood, we use a MMI, a multimodal inventory, personality inventory. New Jersey Med School does one-on-one individual interviews. Each felt very strongly that their approach was the best. And as they listened to each other, they appreciated the fact that there was added value from the other person's approach and tactics. And in the end, what they did was meld those two approaches together. So we have a combination of what each school has been doing for years will be the new admissions process. It was a very powerful moment.
Yeah. The next powerful moment in that meeting was the discussion from the committee that looked at curriculum. Our curricula are different, and the committees had to come together to have a process that was actually the same, identical in both schools. And you can see up here the different components of the curriculum. We've added, very importantly, a component on social justice and health equity and diversity, discovery and dissemination. And we are actually, and the committees following their work, they discovered that they liked the new way of approaching it so much that they're beginning to change already. Remember, we don't have to have these similarities until 2028. We're now working toward that. And already agreements it's been reached on the clinical clerkships, and the timing, which was off, has been moved to change, and we're doing the same thing in the basic sciences. So again, a really remarkable thing. And this is another area where we thought there would be a lot of resistance, and the resistance just hasn't been there.
Yeah, I mean, I would just add that the more experience we have with the new curriculum as we go into the accreditation process, the more likely we are to be successful. So advancing this work before we have to is has been one of the recommendations of the LCME secretariats to us as well. So
yeah. Next slide. The area I thought where we'd have the greatest difficulty was bylaws. The bylaws are in each school about 50 years old. In New Jersey Medical School, they were first written in 1954 when we were actually the Seton Hall School of Medicine. When we started that way. At Robert Wood Johnson, they all go back to 1961, I think it was, when the Kellogg Foundation gave a grant to Rutgers to start the Rutgers Medical School. And over the years, what happened with the bylaws is that pieces were added. And what you end up with is documents that just don't work. They're very cumbersome, they don't make sense, and they don't really respond to the way in which we have to run medical schools today. And so one of the things we did was we went and put together the committees again, the committee persons who were experts in bylaws at each of our schools. And we went to the AAMC, the American Association for Medical Colleges, and asked them for help. And this is like a revelation that Amy and I came to while we were at a meeting in Seattle for the National AAMC meeting. And it was remarkable. The AAMC looked at bylaws across the country and all other 155 medical schools, and looked specifically at bylaws in new medical schools, and helped us develop a set of bylaws that were appropriate for a new medical school, because that is what we will have. The Rutgers School of Medicine will not be just a merger of Robert Wood Johnson Medical School and New Jersey Medical School. It will be a new school, and the bylaws reflect that. Next slide. And these are the pieces of the bylaws. I don't think you need to go through that. Right now, the bylaws have been completed and they are under review. Under review by central administration. And we should have the bylaws ready. And it will be, believe me, a breath of fresh air to have operating rules that make more sense.
right. yeah, again, another really incredible process.
Excellent.
So just to give a little more context to how we're hearing from the collective voices of the stakeholder groups that we serve. The task force work, as I mentioned before, we launched really to be able to get input from multiple different groups. We also knew that we needed to keep those groups focused, and because we had a lot of groups to hear from, it needed to be iterative. We needed to launch some work, get a final report, and then move on to the next set of task forces. So the charge of the task force is there above. Their charge is to share existing practices in the areas of which they're assigned to work on, to identify best practices that might be shared between the two groups, two schools, identify areas for reconciliation or conflict, and then to consider pathways forward or to make recommendations. Each time the task force meets, they actually follow up the following week with a report out to the executive committee so we understand what they're talking about, what their concerns are, and we can answer clarifying questions. And there were a lot of questions that needed clarifications. When the task forces completed their work in August, they also then reported out their final recommendations to the executive committee, many of which are being implemented and prioritized. We can't do everything at once, and some things we don't control, but we're moving those things forward. The 8 new task forces are listed here: faculty promotion, faculty recruitment, medical student research, clinical and health services research, communications, graduate medical education, alumni, and global health. 5 of these 8 recommendations or task forces were actually recommendations that were given to us by the task forces that just finished their work. They wanted us to do a deeper dive into certain areas that they were concerned about how we would approach going forward. This process has been amazing, and I'll say we have gotten so much incredible feedback. And again, to say that we don't know what we don't know until we hear it from these stakeholder groups. So.
Okay. Every medical school in the United States does 3 basic things. We train physicians, we provide clinical care, and we do research that advances the healthcare system and advances the quality of human life. And we're an important piece of the health system throughout the United States. The United States healthcare system is the most expensive in the world. And you would think that with the money we spend on healthcare, we would have outcomes that match the cost. We don't. In many areas, we have outcomes that are worse than the third world countries, especially in maternal and child health. It makes no sense that that goes on. Now, every medical school in the country and every healthcare provider and every hospital will say, we care about health equity. Yet, we still continue to get all those negative outcomes. You have to ask yourself, why is that? Well, it's not just the healthcare system. It's all the other things that make up the social determinants of health. It is race relations, it is economics, it is neighborhoods, it is the housing. All of these things add to that. And as Amy and I both, I'm a pediatrician, Amy's obstetrics and gynecology, and we have lived experiences that have made us really care a lot about health equity. One of my big things I was involved in early in my career was HIV, and I saw how health equity had a very negative impact on HIV. Amy has been very much involved in maternal and child health, and again, has seen some of those negative outcomes. In thinking about this moment and this school, the largest medical school in the state, one of the largest in the country, we have an opportunity, especially considering that we are in this great university, to do something about this. And we have the expertise in housing, we have the expertise in city design, we have the expertise in anthropology, we have the expertise in education, we have the expertise in finance, and we should take advantage of all of that to develop a product, develop an example of how this can be approached. Now, please don't ask me what we're going to do. We are at this point talking to a lot of people. The There's an entity at the AAMC we're in conversation with. We're in conversation with some foundations. We're in conversation with people in our university. But we want this to be the symbol, the thing that is different and unique about this medical school, so that when people think about Rutgers and the Rutgers School of Medicine, they can look at this entity in New Jersey and say, that's what the difference is. That's how we do it. And we come back to give you our report in 2025. We'll have the answer.
Did he just say, Amy, you have the answer now? Just to say, and to add to that, New Jersey is the most population, or one of the most population dense states in the country. It's one of the most diverse states in the country. We will have one of the largest medical schools in the country. If we don't leverage this moment to do something special for this state, then shame on us. I think that's really important. It's really critical that we actually do something that can be a national model for how to do this. Every medical school in the country talks, teaches about health equity, and nobody's moved the needle yet. And we have an opportunity to do that. So, by the way, we did have another retreat at my house to focus on health equity, bringing leaders from both schools together, and we hope to have more, actually.
Next slide. Next.
So this by the number slide is really just an opportunity for us to say thank you and to brag about our teams. Bob and I have been the face in a lot of venues to talk about the medical school integration, but our teams have done an enormous amount of work to make sure that our story is being told. And it's somewhere buried in there, if you add it up, there's been over 400,000 individual points of contact by email with our stakeholder groups, as well as meetings with politicians. We're meeting with faith-based leaders. We've had multiple town halls, webinars, open forums, department meetings. Basically, anybody who wants us to come speak to them, we say yes. And we're going to continue that work because I think it's really important and has been critical to our success. And we have a team of people that have really helped to move this work forward. And I guess the last thank you is to there's over 400 faculty, staff, and learners actively taking part in work to bring the schools together. Just the last set of task forces that were launched, that nomination process just completed. We had 200 people raise their hand and ask to participate in the task force. To be clear, everybody is allowed to participate. Nobody is told no. We find a space for everybody to have a voice. That's, I think, been really critical to our success, and just much gratitude for the folks that have helped us.
Well, thank you. And thank you for giving us this task. What you have started is working pretty well so far. And we do have some time for questions, if you have any at all.
Thank you very much. What a fabulous presentation. Thank you for being here today, but most importantly, thank you for the work of the last 15 months and the over 400 people that have been involved. I would say to motivate and engage over 400 people to do anything towards one mission, vision, and values is an incredible accomplishment. So I think you called it the Martha Johnson process. We're going to go MJP on a lot of things in this university. But thank you so much. This is really exciting, and I think, as you said, we can see the mission, vision, and values of the entire university in this microcosm, and it's really a privilege to think about what we can accomplish together for the state of New Jersey and being a national model. It's a privilege that you're leading this. It's a great opportunity, as you point out, for our faculty, staff, and learners, and all of us on the Board of Governors. It's certainly a point of pride for the university, and delighted to hear that. So our colleagues have offered to take questions. I will open the floor. Mr. Taffet.
Actually, I apologize that it's going to be a comment, not a question, because I'm just going to preface it as follows. As the new chair of the Committee on Health Affairs, we did have the privilege of listening to this presentation approximately a month ago. And so I want to be clear that, several of my colleagues that are here today, we had a very robust discussion. And so, it's incredible, candidly, to hear it a second time. It sinks in a little better. So To a large degree, it's very helpful, but I
Get
do
better
not
every
want
time.
you to take my lack of question today, or perhaps others' lack of questions, as a lack of interest. This is an incredible undertaking. I think we all recognize that. The presentation is incredibly robust. We will be the national envy for medical schools. I don't know that much about medical, but maybe I know a little bit, but or else I wouldn't be the chair. But having said that, I think what's important to note is that I think we all very much admire and respect what you have done in a very collegial way, professional and collegial, and the fact that you were able to put these two complex organizations together. I mean, it's not completely done, but just kudos to you and to Rutgers and to the leadership. And so I just want to thank you because I think we are forever indebted to you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bravo, I think you speak for all of us. Thank you. Floor remains open. Amy?
Deans, if I may, I would just urge, as you look at the health equity issue, I will selfishly ask you to look at Cumberland and Salem counties. Those are a place that are not dense, but suffer from the worst of everything in reference to health outcomes in the state. And if ever there's an opportunity for Rutgers to come to the other side of the South, this would be a perfect opportunity for you to do that. And I know there are many organizations and stakeholders that stand ready to work with you in whatever way. We may always remain at the bottom just because, but we can certainly move the numbers.
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
yeah,
that.
thank
That's
you. Yeah.
important. We know that from a
Yeah.
maternal and child health outcomes
yeah.
perspective, for sure.
Thank you very much, Ms. Vantu. The floor remains open for any additional comments or questions. Okay, before I thank you, I want to highlight one other comment that you made. You said, what do you want us to do? And you said, solve the problem and step back. I think that's a leadership style and goal that we all can learn from, empowering people to take responsibility for those decisions. And I think it sounds like part of your success was really empowering people to work together, to collaboratively find, as you described, what is best practice, and then how do you find a collaboration to achieve that? So really outstanding. Thank you for being here today, and looking forward to reporting on more progress and exciting outcomes in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
having
Bye.
us.
We'll now move into committee reports. We'll begin the committee reports with the executive committee. I have one item of note out of the executive committee, and that would be the election of Jose Piazza as a Board of Governors member to the Camden Board of Directors. For the moment, Mr. Piazza, I'll ask you to sign off of the Zoom. So did he drop? Fantastic. So on behalf of the Executive Committee, I present the following nomination for Board of Governors member to the Camden Board of Directors for the term coterminous with the member's term on the Board of Governors, Jose Piazza. Do I have a motion? Thank you. A second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the nomination? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Thank you. The motion carries. We will move on to the Committee on Academic and Student Affairs. Dr. Dockery, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Committee on Academic and Student Affairs met on September 12th, 2024 at 1 p.m. We began the meeting with introductions, and I discussed the committee's charge and asked members to familiarize themselves with the charge. Dr. Prabhas Mogi, Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs, reviewed the topics that will be covered during the committee's meetings this academic year and discussed the committee's work in endorsing procedures involving academic appointments and academic promotions and reappointments. He also shared an overview of the appointments, tenure promotions, and awards process. He reported that there were 143 new academic appointments over the past year and shared a slide on the demographic background of appointments, reappointments, and promotions. Dr. Mogi also reported that there were 152 appointments, reappointments, and promotions during the previous academic year and shared a breakdown of their demographics and ranks. Dr. Anabag Anna Branch, Senior Vice President for Equity, began her presentation on the university's diversity, strategic plan by providing some background on the plan. Dr. Branch discussed the work University Diversity Steering Committee, then shared an update on progress that has been made, reviewed the 5 key areas of progress that are being tracked at each school, and discussed the first university-wide DEI campus survey. She also noted that the Campus Climate Action Planning Guide was released at the end of June. Dr. Mogi presented the proposed resolution approving revisions to University Policy 10.1.14 endowed faculty positions and reviewed the revisions that are being made. The committee agreed to endorse the resolution for board approval, and it has been placed on the consent agenda. Next, Dr. Mogi presented the proposed resolution approving revisions to University Policy 10.2.4, units of credit, and reviewed the revisions to the policy. The committee agreed to endorse the resolution for board approval, and it has been placed on the consent agenda. Dr. Francine Conway, Chancellor of Rutgers University, New Brunswick, updated the committee on a change of credit requirement to the Master of Education in College Student Affairs, full-time at the Graduate School of Education, and a change to the credit requirement for the Master of Education in College Student Affairs, part-time at the Graduate School of Education. She also updated the committee on the Bachelor of Arts in Social Work or Bachelor of Social Work, Master of Social Work, dual degree program at the School of Social Work. The committee then met in an executive session to discuss recommendations involving academic appointments with tenure, an academic promotion with tenure, and an administrative appointment with tenure. The committee agreed to endorse these recommendations for board approval, and they have been placed also on the consent agenda. The committee was then presented with 3 proposed resolutions. 1, proposed resolution approving the appointment to the Donald H. Jacobs Chair in Applied Physics. 2, proposed resolution approving the appointment to the William Haight Endowed Directorship. And 3, proposed resolution on the appointment to the Bishop and Sua Amari Family Endowed Legacy Professorship. The committee agreed to endorse all 3 resolutions for board approval, and they have been placed on the consent agenda as well. Madam Chair, this concludes the report of the Committee on Academic and Student Affairs.
Thank you, Dr. Dockery. We will move on to the Committee on Finance and Facilities. Mr. Lau.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Committees on Finance and Facilities met on September 19, 2024. In matters of action, Madam Chair, the Committee on Finance and Facilities has 1 proposed resolution. Mr. Calcado presented for endorsement the proposed resolution that would allow the university to amend and increase the omnibus resolution dated June 22nd, 2023, regarding the summer 2022 solicitation cycle for the State of New Jersey Higher Education Capital Facilities Grant Funding Programs. This will allow for the construction of a new modular research data center on the Livingston campus, partially supported by that grant program. Madam Chair, I move the resolution found under the consent agenda. Under matters for information, Mr. Calcado provided the committee with a report of the Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer, updating on several current and prospective projects. Starting with the widening of the Sutton's Lane Road in Piscataway Township between Metlars Lane and Road 2. As the project moves forward, it may need a land sale of a small portion of the Livingston campus property to Piscataway Township. Next, Nichols Apartment and University housing renovations are multi-year projects under planning that would provide needed renovations to the Nichols Apartments on Bush campus and University housing on the Rutgers Health Newark campus. Next, updates and improvements at the Cook Douglas campus for campus lighting to address safety, energy conservation, and aesthetic upgrades. And finally, construction of the Clinical Skills Center in the NJMS Cancer Center. Rutgers IPNO will be paid by the University Hospital to perform all construction and related activities as permitted by the Continuing Services Agreement with University Hospital. Next, Mr. Gower and his colleagues provided the committee with a report of the Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer and University Treasurer. Mr. Gower provided the committee with an overview of the first financial sustainability report and reviewed the policy passed by the board last June. Mr. Gower shared that during a recent retreat, cabinet members arrived at a set of strategic priorities related to financial sustainability. Those are number one, strengthening enrollment. Number two, artificial intelligence. Number three, administrative and academic efficiency opportunities. Number four, identifying and optimizing new net revenue sources. He shared that the president has established a subcommittee to address each priority. Continuing financial stability initiatives include one, reviewing of administrative processes, two, reviewing of the balance sheet, three, program economics, four, financial modeling, five, financial review for centers and institutes, and six, systems initiatives. Mr. Gower then provided an update and overview of the cornerstone projects and efforts, including cost projections for the balance of fiscal year 2025. Mr. William Troy, Executive Director of Risk Management and Insurance, presented to the committee an overview of the insurance programs that the university currently has, along with a discussion on the opportunities and challenges that the university may face as it continues these programs. Mr. Kim Yozgat, Chief Healthcare Risk Officer, presented the university's medical malpractice program and covered the umbrella of professional liability for the next fiscal year, along with current related trends. Mr. Jeffrey Boone, Vice President for Finance and Associate Treasurer, presented on the university's internal bank that was established in 2016 and has provided financing for over 200 different capital projects, the most recent one being the Helix project. Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. We will move on to the Committee on Audit, please. Ms. DiMartino.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Committee on Audit met on Thursday, October 17th, and after Secretary Pasqua queried the committee members on potential conflicts of interest, I, with members of the committee, reviewed membership responsibilities, included in the Board of Governors charge to the Committee on Audit. Michael Gower, Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer and University Treasurer, outlined the expectations of future Committee on Audit meetings, including cybersecurity updates, educational sessions from the Division of Intercollegiate Athletics and the Department of Risk Management and Insurance, and expected deliverables from the university's outside audit firm, KPMG. Christina Dulce, University Controller, provided an update on the FY24 financial statement audit, noting that there are no new accounting standards required for this year. There are no findings or topics to be discussed currently. Rachel Honig, Vice President and Chief University Compliance Officer, provided an overview of her unit's responsibilities and an update on the enterprise risk management process. Eugene Simon, Associate Vice President and Deputy Chief Enterprise Risk Management, Ethics and Compliance Officer, provided an overview on current initiatives within the university ethics and compliance, which includes healthcare billing and coding audit, ethics training, investigations and public records, privacy and healthcare compliance, and institutional compliance. And finally, Douglas Orr, Chief Audit Executive, provided the status of the current audit plan, highlights from recently completed reviews, and the implementation status of recommendations from past audits. The committee then met in private session with university management, and the meeting concluded shortly thereafter. That concludes the report, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to the Committee on Intercollegiate Athletics. Mr. Copeland, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At a special meeting on September 10th, 2024, the Committee on Intercollegiate Athletics met to review and endorse the compensation for Interim Director of Intercollegiate Athletics, Ryan Passari, in accordance with the university policy at 60-1-15. A regular scheduled meeting on October 2nd, 2024, Mr. Ryan Prasari, Interim Director of Intercollegiate Athletics, began by briefing and reviewing his background by thanking people from throughout the Rutgers community for their support during the transition that led to his appointment as Interim Director of Intercollegiate Athletics. He then updated the committee on developments related to the House versus NCAA settlement, name, image, and likeness, a roster limit, as well as scholarships. Mr. Prasari also reported investment opportunities for football and reviewed Rutgers athletics operating budget compared to other Big Ten schools, as well as game day review for football and men's basketball. Following Mr. Sean Tucker, Vice President of Athletics Development and Deputy Athletic Director, shared a fundraising update and reviewed the fiscal year 2025 R Fund strategic plan, efforts related to NIL, and new gifts and commitments over the previous 5 years. He also reviewed fundraising totals for fiscal year 2024, as well as progress to date for fiscal year 2025, provided an overview of the fiscal year 2025 pipeline. Following Mr. Matthew Giovanni, Deputy Athletic Director for Facilities, at a special meeting. He was project manager as well as internal operations, and Mr. David Schultz, Vice President, Planning Development and Design and University Architect, shared an update on capital projects and reviewed proposed improvements to various athletic facilities. The meeting was adjourned approximately 2:25 p.m. This concludes my report on the Committee on Intercollegiate Athletics.
Thank you very much, Mr. Copeland. We'll now move on to the Committee on Health Affairs. Mr. Taffet, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Committee on Health Affairs met on September 5th, 2024 at 9 a.m. Began the committee with the review of committee charge. Meeting began with the charge and responsibility to report to the Board of Governors on matters concerning healthcare services provided by schools and programs at the university. Next was the Rutgers School of Medicine update. Dr. Robert Johnson, Dean of the New Jersey Medical School, Dr. Amy Murtha, Dean of Rutgers Robert Wood Johnson Medical School, provided an in-depth report on the integration of the two medical schools as the Rutgers School of Medicine. They detailed progress that has been made regarding accreditation from the Liaison Committee on Medical Education, reviewed the steps that have been taken to clearly communicate the process to the Rutgers community, discussed the focus on social justice and health equity, and highlighted the importance of comparability for the school's two campuses. Following that was the University Behavioral Healthcare Overview. Mr. Frank Janassi, President and CEO of University Behavioral Healthcare, shared an update on a substance abuse and mental health services administration grant that will support 3 clinics in the state that provide collaborative care. Dr. Janassi also shared a detailed report on how new programmatic development, financial summary, and business analysis and update, as well as several grant opportunities. He continued by updating the committee on electroconvulsive therapy within RWJ Barnabas Health System, the National Bancorp Center for the new 988 Center in Northwestern Pennsylvania, and the opening of the state's first academic addictions treatment center in Plainfield. Following that, next, Dr. Janassi cited 3 matters that require the committee's endorsement to move forward for the Board of Governors approval. I believe they are included on the consent agenda. 1, minutes of the University Behavioral Healthcare Leadership Committee meeting of March 11, 2024. 2, University Behavioral Healthcare staff appointments, reappointments, and clinical privileges of July 15, 2024, and 3, University Behavioral Healthcare's quality improvement report for the first quarter of 2024. Again, these 3 matters were endorsed by the committee for Board of Governors approval and are on today's consent agenda. Next, Dr. Brian Strom, Chancellor of Rutgers Biomedical and Health Sciences and Executive VP for Health Affairs, updated the committee on Rutgers Health regarding new gifts and commitments and reported on research expenditures. He continued by discussing a clinical and translational science award won by the Rutgers Institute for Translational Medicine and Science to improve the New Jersey Alliance for Clinical and Translational Science. He then noted that Dr. Angela Starweather had accepted the position of Dean of the School of Nursing and reported on 2 new recruits at the Robert Wood Johnson Medical School. Chancellor Strom continued with updates on the installation of the EPIC electronic health record system across UVHC, new leads for RWJ Barnabas Health Service Line, and Rutgers Health being awarded the American Association for the Advancement of Science's STEM Equity Achievement Change Biomedicine Bronze Award. Chancellor Strom also shared a brief update on Rutgers Health Statement on Professionalism and reported on the Rutgers Health Physical Master Plan. Next, Dr. Bisher Omari, Senior Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs and Research at RBHS, reviewed Rutgers research funding for the past 6 years, as well as awards by major sponsor category and NIH award grants totals and the rankings. Dr. Omari concluded by reviewing steps Rutgers Health has taken to enhance its research standing. Finally, Ms. Kathleen Bromwell, Senior Vice Chancellor for Finance and Administration, provided a Rutgers Health financial update, noting the FY24 ended with a $67.3 million operating surplus. She shared some factors and continued factors that have contributed to that surplus, including the university's partnership with RWJ Barnabas Health, healthcare and affiliated and house staff revenue, sponsored programs, grant and contract revenue by unit, state appropriations, and tuitions and fees. She also reviewed FY25 expenses by major category and discussed Rutgers Health's strengths, opportunities, and risks. Madam Chair, this concludes the report of the Committee on Health Affairs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tappett. We will move on to the Joint Committee on Investments. Mr. Gower, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Joint Committee on Investments met on September 25th. After a review of the committee's charge, Chief Investment Officer Jason McDonald continued and reviewed provided an in-depth overview of the endowment portfolio and the investment office's philosophy and structure. Then reviewed performance of the long-term investment pool as of June 30th, 2024. For 1, 3, and 5-year periods respectively, the long-term investment pool returned 12.4%, 2.8%, and 8.1%. Each of these was ahead of their benchmarks and were favorable compared to peers on preliminary information. Additional time was also spent discussing portfolio's investments along with updates surrounding recent investment activity, portfolio liquidity, and the investment pipeline. There were 2 recommendations for investments that were approved by the committee. One, $20 million for a private diversifying strategy, and another $10 million for a private equity investment. Ms. McDonald finally provided an update on the quasi-endowment exposure within the long-term investment pool and reviewed the investment office's FY24 results and FY25 goals. Madam Chair, that concludes the report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gower. We'll now move to the items on the consent agenda. Mr. Lau, will you please present the consent agenda?
I will.
Pardon me.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Are there any items that the members want to remove from the consent agenda? Upon recommendation of the Committee on Academic and Student Affairs, Committee on Finance and Facilities, and the Committee on Health Affairs, I move that the board approve the items in the consent agenda.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lal. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed or abstaining? Thank you. The consent agenda is carried. And at this point, we will move to the report of the University Senate. Welcome, Ms. Foster. I invite you to present your report on the University Senate. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Chair. The University Senate met on September 9th via Zoom the Senate passed the following resolutions, the text of which are available on the Senate website. At its regular meeting on September 20th, 2024, the University Senate adopted the following resolutions. One, resolution for Rutgers Senate inclusion in Rutgers presidential search. Two, resolution in support of a letter requesting asynchronous instruction on Election Day. Three, resolution on caste-based discrimination at Rutgers. A parliamentarian report has not been passed yet, but it's on the agenda for this Friday's meeting. I thank the University Senate for the privilege to serve as their chair and represent the views of elected senators across faculty, staff, student, and alumni rank. It's an honor to work directly with the members of the board. Thank you to the President Holloway, the Cabinet, the Chancellors, the Office of the Secretary, and the multiple staff, executive assistants, and administrative assistants whom I look forward to working with. Thank you to the Madam Chair of the Board for immediate responsiveness and for your inclusive leadership. At no point in the 74 history of the University Senate has both the chair and vice chair been wholly represented by staff. And as you'll get to know me, my leadership style is inclusive, solutions-driven, and collaborative, not about stature or rank. I strive to be the last one to speak at my meetings and actively listen to all members of the Senate and deliver reports with full and complete transparency. The Senate body will need to demonstrate there's as much courage in listening as there is in speaking up by building a culture of openness and free expression. The Senate now has over 32 charges within its standing committees for the academic year of 24-25. The topics range from academic freedom, institutional neutrality, conflict of interest declaration, research trainee composition, automatic textbook billing, student busing and transportation, expanding access to community libraries, and impact on course atlas, to name a few. Senators will do their due diligence in examining all the concerns surrounding these issues in partnership with the chancellors, provost, and deans of each campus. While the broader university community continues conversations around shared governance, community, and belonging, and ways to collaborate and elevate voices, the ability for each of us to hold space for one another as we disagree across differences remains critically important. The Senate stands at the ready to continue meaningful engagement with President Holloway and administration throughout this academic year. It's only through listening across differences, giving grace, and seeking to understand their empathetic, courageous leadership emerges. On October 8th, 2024, President Holloway delivered his heartfelt and final stakeholder address, reflecting on Rutgers' rise and achievements. He issued a powerful invitation to dare to believe in our university's enormous potential to become a model for the nation in serving the common good, and the Rutgers Senate will follow suit in pursuing this goal. The Rutgers Senate will continue in this manner to serve each campus with compassionate and collaborative partnership in working through not only the triumphs, but the challenges of each campus. Thank you all for your continued commitment to engaging in this hard work together on behalf of those we serve and the future of those who come after us here at Rutgers. Madam Chair, that concludes my first report, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Foster, for your report, for your thoughtful comments, for sharing some of your leadership philosophy. And I think we all look forward to collaborative leadership for the benefit of all of Rutgers during our tenure here. Thank you again. I'll now open the floor for any old business. Hearing none, is there any additional new business? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you. A second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed or abstaining? Thank you. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. Have a great afternoon.